All right, show of hands. For how many of you is it more difficult to pay attention in an online class than it is to pay attention in an in-person class? Anyone? I know I can't see you, but I'm just going to put my hand up because that's the case for me. Don't get me wrong, I know that in-person classes have their distractions. You see somebody getting up to go to the bathroom in the middle of a lecture, or maybe somebody in front of you is playing Minecraft on their laptop. But I don't know, for me, I always feel that there is just far more room for distractions in the online setting. Most of the time when you're doing online classes, you're doing so from the comfort of your own home or maybe your dorm room, but it's your space. There's nobody else around, no professors keeping tabs on you, so it's a lot easier to not pay attention to what your professor is saying and start doing other things. Which means that it's on you to repeatedly practice techniques that's going to keep you engaged and focused in an online setting. Probably the most obvious way to stay focused in class is to actually participate. Now, I know that for some people, the idea of speaking out loud in class is a terrifying concept. And if that's you, I still encourage you to put yourself out there and to try, but if you're really not about that, take advantage of the chat. Most online classes should have some sort of chat feature that you can use to put your own questions in or to answer a question your professor asks. And doing that is not only going to keep you on the ball by looking for times where you can answer or ask questions, but it's also going to show your professor that you're engaged, which is going to help with that maintaining regular communication thing we talked about in the last video. Plus, studies have shown that we learn better when we actively participate in something rather than merely consume it. So taking that time to ask questions out loud or in the chat or answer questions, whatever that looks like in your class, can be very useful for you. Another tip, keep your camera on in class. It fascinates me that in this Zoom landscape we kind of tripped into, everybody by default almost prefers to keep their cameras off. And I get it. I know there's like privacy things and there's stuff happening in the background and maybe your room's a mess or you just woke up and you haven't done your hair yet or whatever the case may be. But there's also something about the accountability that comes with being seen. See, in a classroom, your professor could see you and was able to kind of keep you on track, even if they didn't know what was on the screen you were taking notes with. But when you're at home, alone, in the comfort of wherever you're doing your class, it is so easy to just, pull out your phone when it gets to a boring part of the lecture and just start to scroll and, oh, actually, I hadn't read that before. See? And you're gone. And all of a sudden, you're not paying attention to what your professor said anymore. All you're focusing on is what's on your screen. So for the sake of accountability for yourself, try keeping your camera on. It might make it a lot easier. Now, of course, I recognize that there are times where keeping your camera on just isn't possible. Maybe you do have your kids in the background and you want to respect their privacy, or maybe your house is that much of a mess and you haven't figured out how to do that fuzzy background thing yet on Teams or Zoom. I get it, it's going to happen. But at that point, what I would recommend is still put into place some sort of content blocker. There are apps for your computers and for your phones that will basically stop you from being able to go to websites like Reddit or social media or do online shopping or whatever else you find distracting in your day-to-day life. Or if you don't think content blockers are going to work or you know an easy way to get around them, what I'd actually recommend is taking your phone and putting it on the other side of the room. That way it is out of reach so that it can't be a distraction for you while you're in the middle of class, but you can still hear it in case there's an emergency or something like that. And finally, I know that a lot of what we've talked about today has been dealing with distractions that come with computers and cell phones, since that is something that most students have been talking to me about when it comes to the distractions of online learning. But another great way to maintain focus is to have a designated study space designed for doing online learning. But we're going to talk about that more in the next video.